What did I just do there? That's a good start. Sorry, you didn't see it. You're frozen too. Okay, so go ahead and take these notes down. This is called doing sealed bids for fair share of a situation. Now, I like the first one because it's, I guess, a little bit real world. It's talking about an estate being divided. And the first thing is it's for discrete division. What's discrete division? Is that objects that can be cut into portions and shared or cannot? Can or cannot. It's one or the other. Flip a coin. Cannot. A car technically can't be cut into pieces, although some could say you could get it for parts, but not really. House can't be cut up. Cottage and all that other stuff. So the problem with this, I'll just tell you the first example as you write these numbers down. You have 4 people getting an estate. Okay, so, and they're getting, and 3 things are in the estate. So even if it was 4 things in the estate, would it be fair one person gets a car, one gets a house, one gets a cottage, for the love of dog, and one gets, I don't know, the family dog, whatever. Can't think of something else. And the answer is no. So let's go ahead and write this down. And as always, I told this to the CAT students last year. A lot of times when you get something, it's all about the steps, and you follow the steps. That's your map. Just like you follow a map to go into Downers Grove. All right? If you don't follow the map, you don't end up in Downers Grove. If you don't follow the steps, you don't get to the promised land of right math answers. I don't know. The map of this, I'm going to throw my own thing into it as you write this down, kind of pertaining to this next thing that we're going to do with this. What you do is, separately from each other, you don't know what each of the people you're involved with, what their feelings are, but here are the things in the estate, in a sealed envelope, by yourself, what do you think everything is worth? So, step 1, all players submit honest and independent, bids. Each must have a monetary value for each item. How many items there are? This is what's strange. It gets strange actually in step 2 and step 3. I'm really going to hold off all questions until we go through an example, because I know how it is when you get a steps and words are in there. It's like, wait, what? And you're not going to understand it until we actually do one example of following these steps. And it is a strange process. Each item in step 2 goes to the highest bidder. So the highest bidder, obviously we put it in a sealed envelope. Somebody has the highest bid. They get the object, but they have to pay for it. Or the other people, they lost the bid. They don't have to pay for anything, but they should get something. So that player that wins contributes the dollar amount into what's called a compensation fund, and it's sitting off to the side. That's step 2. So you get winning bidders. That money is paid, in theory, might just be on a piece of paper until we get through all 4 steps. Let's just pretend they have the money, they throw it in a pile. All right, then we move on to step 3. Now this is what's strange, and this is why you need to bid appropriately. Meaning, if you bid higher than it's worth, you're overpaying. And if you bid too low, that's not representing the value very well, then you're really hurting yourself. So your bids must be somewhat reasonable to what the objects are. Because in step 3, each player receives, now this 1 over n thing, n is how many people are involved. Our next example, there's 4 people involved. So each player receives in that 1/4, 1 over n, how many people there are involved, of his or her total bids, what they personally bid, not what actually, the object is worth or whatever, because it's all about your perception of what it's worth. And just like everything we've been doing is fair share, it's all been about your perceived value and your perceived fair share. So the bids that you have made, you are stuck with, because that is your perceived value of the stuff. All chapter long, that's been the case. Okay, now this is just a little different incarnation of this idea. And then wait on this last one. Any money that's left over, because all that money goes from that compensation fund that was built in by the highest bidders, there is going to be money left over. Just mathematically, it's impossible for it not to be. The compensation fund is built from the highest bids. All the other bids are lower than that. So there will be money left over when everyone gets 1 over n of their bids in their mind value. So any money left over is distributed equally to all the players left over. So again, don't answer any questions or ask any questions until we actually go through the first one. So here's the question. The question is 4 siblings inherit a family home, car, and a beach cottage. They make a bid. These are the bids. So this is what's given. The rest of this would be your work. This is what you're responsible for. So this is what I mean about the notes being shoved in your face. From this point on, step 2 on is your responsibility, like to understand and know and be able to do. Someone was kind of unclear. Wait, what is given here? What do we get? So if we look at this box, there's 4 siblings, Jack, Ryan, Mikey, and Ellie. And the estate that's left is a house, a car, and a cottage. So the chart here is actually their envelope bids. Jack puts in his envelope a written bid for the house, $350, car, $56, cottage, $115. And so on and so on and so forth. I don't think I have to read the rest. So then someone, now again, remember this as you're writing this down, these whole processes are so we don't have to hire anyone. Are lawyers expensive or inexpensive? Expensive. So this is like, you know what? We can figure this out. So this is how we're going to do it. The fair share way. Okay, and then, so that's what's going on here. So anyway, Ryan's bids, Mikey's bids, Ellie's bids. Mikey has the highest bid on the house. So what does Mikey get? The house. But guess what he has to do? Pay for it. Who wins the car? Obviously. By the way, nice car, huh? My car's worth that. Minus $56,500. It's actually true. That's why I paid for it. Hey, all you need for a car is that it gets you from point A to point B, and then from point B back to point A. If that's what happens, it's good. And that's what I have right now, as of right now. But anyway, that's a little life lesson, a little bit more than math. Okay, and then the cottage obviously goes to Ryan, but what does Ryan have to do? He has to pay for it. Hope you heard that. Okay, so now let's pretend they physically did have the money. Boy, it'd be nice to just have $389,000 in my pocket. All right, and that's what Mikey has. So they got to put it on the table over in the compensation fund. Broop, 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 broop. So the compensation fund builds up to $567,000. See, because right now, what does Jack have? He has Jack squat. You get it? Okay. And he's supposed to get some sort of fair share out of this estate. All right? To talk about that, as some people are still catching up, maybe, writing. Because I did do this all day long, because I want you to understand, at the end of this, who wins? And I'm going to answer that question right now. It depends. No. It depends what you value. Right. So listen, maybe Ellie said, you know what? I never did like that house. But I want to make a bid that it's at least reasonable so I don't cost myself a lot of money, but I don't want it. So I think, these other guys are going to bid like at least $335. So I'm going to bid $318. That's a reasonable amount. I'll walk away with some money, and I'm fine. I don't want to have anything to do with that house anymore. I live in California. This is in New York. What am I going to do with this thing? Whereas the other 3, Jack went, I could get that house for $350, and that'd be a deal. And then obviously Mikey says, I want that house. I think I could outbid him. $389 is a comfortable value for me. So therefore, that's what I'm going to do. And that's how this works out. So you can't really say who wins at the end. There is no good answer for that. All right? So now this is what I mean about reasonable bids and why still Ellie should at least give a value for the house that gives her something, because this is the strange part. You get 1/4, because there's 4 people, of your perceived value, the bids that you put on all 3 objects in this case, back from the compensation fund. Now hold the phone. Don't say to yourself, wait a minute, Mikey gets the house and then he gets $139,000 too when Jack gets Jack squat and only gets $130,000 and no house? That's not what's happening. Where's this money coming from? This money is coming from, where's most of the money coming from? Mikey. So in the end, you got to figure out what actually happens in the end here. No, Mikey's not just getting $139,000. He actually bought the house and had to pay $389,000 for it. But because of fair sharing, he's going to get some of it back, and then you'll find out at the end what happens. But anyway, I know this is what's crazy. That's why I want you to hold off on all questions until we've put a final result on this process. This is what I said before. These 4 distributions between the 4 people mathematically have to be smaller than what the compensation fund is. Because look at Ellie's, look at Jack's. Jack's bids are all smaller than the winning bid. Then 1/4 of that is a smaller number than 1/4 of 567. Has to be. And even Mikey's 1/4 of his bids. He only had one high bid. So even 1/4 of his bids is less than 1/4 of 567,000. Hopefully, mathematically, you understand that after we get their perceived values back off of 1/4 of their bids, there's money left over in a compensation fund. So step 4 is to take the leftover money, which is 567, and subtract it from the money given to the 4 people based off their perceived values from step 3. The answer to that, and this is why I had this just left it written, because it's a pain to, hey, what do you guys get when you take 567 minus, and then it takes forever, and it's understandable. Math all done for you. Again, the math involved is no more than adding, subtracting, and dividing. That's it. 40,750 is left in the contribution fund. So at that point, you divide that by 4 equally and divvy that up equally into 4 equal parts and give them that money. So, give you a second to write this down, but just to listen, you got to be able to do 2 things at once. Chew gum and walk, right? 2 skills, right? No? When I show the final result, what's Jack going to have as a final result? Is it going to be 130,250? No, it's going to be 130,000 plus what? 10,000 blah. So he's going to have 140,000. Jack's walking out the door with $140,000 and actually no responsibilities. What is Ryan going to have? 10,000 plus 134. What's Mikey going to get? 139 plus 10. Now I know what some people are saying. Wait a minute. He gets 149,000 or 100 and the house? That's not what's happening. That money came out of Mikey's, Ryan's, and Ellie's pocket. So at the end, you put together what actually happened in this whole scenario. Hopefully you're done with the red. And you're there. Then I'll stop for a second. 2 things at once. Okay, so, all right, like I said before, where'd that 140,000 come from? Jack's 130 plus the 10, 187. All right, and then Ryan. Okay, well, remember what Ryan got, though. So Ryan actually paid $120,000 for the cottage. That money was thrown together and then redistributed back by this process. So Ryan did get $144,000 and the cottage. He got $144,000 minus $120,000, which is what? $24,000 and change and the cottage. Okay, so that's how this equally works out. He put the money in, but then because of fair sharing, the cottage is worth less than 1/4 of all the perceived values through this process. So he gets a little cash back. Mikey, on the other hand, didn't get the house on 149. He got the house and a bill of 389 minus 149, which is approximately, what did I say earlier today, like $240,000. So Mikey inherited a house, but $240,000 came out of his pocket to get that house. Now think about it. If the house is worth $389,000, then he paid $240,000 for a $389,000 house. If the house was not worth that and he overbidded, Then say the house is worth 340,000. Then he paid 240 for a $340,000 house. So that's where overbidding might hurt you. But then let's think about it. Ellie got the car. What does a car do 99% of the time you drive it out of the lot? Goes up or goes down in value? So Ellie got a depreciating asset, something that goes down in value every day, pretty much, and paid $58,000 for it. So what she got was the car and $132,000 minus 58, whatever that number is. So she did get some cash in the car. All right? So that's how this all works out to everyone feel they got a fair share. Now the question, who wins? Don't answer it. I bet you everyone in this room would have to say it depends. Like maybe Mikey, the house, I'm going to live in it. Whereas Ellie, I live in the other side of the continent, or this, what do we live in? The United States, which is a continent, that works. Okay? So she's fine with the car and some cash. And Jack's like, I wanted none of it. I just wanted some cold hard cash, no responsibilities, walk out the door. So, it could be I live on the other side of the continent, that still would have been fine. Now get out your homework. Yeah, start your homework page. Because your homework tonight is 1 through 7. Look at the board. 1. And then it's I think 11, 12, and 14. So what am I saying you should do? Start it. But I'm okay, watch. Okay, so now this is videoing. So does everyone have their paper out? Well, so I didn't want to just do one example, but then I also came up with the bright ideas. Let's have them start their homework, but then actually do it for them, and then they could kind of watch. Now this next one's very Mickey Mouse. It's a very small scenario. How many people are there? Look, there's only 2 people. How many objects are there? It's only 1. Okay, so in the beginning of I think there's directions above 1. There's a necklace. You might want to write this down just real quick above number 1. There's a necklace that's worth about $1,000-ish. Give or take something here and there. Now, I will tell you the purposes why I like these. I've said you hurt yourself if you do one of 2 things. Either underbid or overbid. So step 1, the bidding process begins, and it's right in here. What did Luann bid? What did Cheryl bid? Ridiculous. Cheryl's like, I don't want that stupid thing. So I'm just going to bid $20. Well, Cheryl, this is the sealed bid process, and this is how it works. We'll see what you did to yourself. So step 1, sorry, I kept doing that. So step 2, who won? Luann. And what does Luann pay? $1,100 to the what? What's it called? Compensation fund. I'm not writing it. You have it in your notes. So the compensation fund now has $1,100 in it. Now here's where it gets weird. Step 3 is each person gets half of their what? Bid. And it comes back from the compensation fund. So this money's sitting here now, and now it's going to be divided up in steps 3 and 4. So Luann gets the necklace. Now, just to equal things out, now we have to divvy up some cash. So what's half of 1,100? $550. Unfortunately for silly Cheryl's starting to think, wait a minute, what have I done? Half of what? 20, which is 10. Good for her. Now, what's step 4? Which I guess I could put right here. No. Step 4, we got a little a teacher assistant apparently. What do we do? Is there money left over in a compensation fund? Yes. What do we do about that money left over? Divide it equally. So we have $1,100 in the compensation fund. We paid $550 to Luann, $10 to Cheryl, for a grand total of $540. And then what are we going to do to that $540? Divide by 2. Now this is what I like to do. It's not really step 5. I like to write down the final results. So the final results are Luann. I like showing it as a negative number. She paid $1,100. But because of the fair division after perceived values and then what's left over in the compensation fund, she gets half of her bid back and she gets half of what's left over. By the way, what is half of 540? 275. I didn't write that. I wrote it in the other ones. And then what does Cheryl get? I'll total that in a minute. Cheryl gets no payment, but she gets half of 20, and she gets half of the compensation fund.
It's just 270.
270? No, I don't know where I'm getting that from. Never was good at math. So for a grand total of 280, guess what Luann has? A balance of negative 280. So what did I say the necklace was about worth? 1,000. How much does Luann pay for this about $1,000 necklace? 280. And what does Cheryl get? 280. No, she gets $280. Not. What should she get about if it really is around 5,000? 1,000. I'm sorry, I had a number in my head. If it was worth around 1,000, what should she get? Oh my gosh, where is everybody? I'm not by myself here. 500. Okay, now, again, listen. This is a Mickey Mouse question. Just trying to demonstrate the seal bid process. The first one's more realistic. Uh-oh, there's anarchy. Than Luann. So, I didn't get any of that online, darn. All right, so, now I started the video. That's fine. I didn't swear or anything, so. Did I say Cheryl? Shirley? Who? Cheryl. So now Cheryl says, whoa, let's start over. I want to rebid. Now she bids $2,000, which is a what? An under or an overbid? Overbid. So step one. Again, this just did the process down two, but also to hammer down the idea, underbidding and overbidding hurts. So step one, Luann, okay, I'm just going to be annoying and write it. She bids $1,100. But now Cheryl says, no, wait, I want to redo it. I bid $2,000. I want the necklace now. So, who wins? Obviously. What happens in step two? What's the compensation fund now? $2,000 now. Luann pays how much right now? Luann pays what? 0. Okay, that's what we just wanted to clarify before. I'm going to put step 3 down here. Step 3. Okay, now each person gets what? Half of their what? Bid out of the who? The fund. Cheryl's like, okay, well, fine. I get half of my 2,000 back, which is what? 1,000. Okay, fine. I got 1,000 back. Great. What's step 4? There's money left over in the compensation fund. What do we do about it? Divide it what? Equally. So, what was in the compensation fund? 2,000. What was paid out? 1,000 and 550. What do we get? Is that 450? And then we divide that by 2. Now what I like to do is put down in the final result who got what in this scenario. Luann, I put that right here. Paid 0, got 550 back, half of her bid, plus 275. Why did I write a 6? There goes that brain. I think Common Core destroyed my brain. 275? 225. Again, I get Common Core. That's what I blame it on. All right. Forgot how to do math. What's this answer? 775? How much is the necklace worth? 1,000, and she gets 775 in cash. So what does that mean Cheryl's going to pay overall? There's only 2 people. What do you think the negative number is going to be? 775, because there's only 2 people. If there was 3 people, some different things would be occurring. I'd like to put 3 people in this necklace scenario and then see what an overbid does, and then some different things occur. But I will write it out. Paid 2,000, got 1,000 back, and got half of the fund back. You will find out that this is negative 775 because there are 2 people involved. When there's more than 2 people, something more complicated occurs. The purpose of this example is just to get through the process steps, what happens. All right? All right, and then honestly, homework questions 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I believe, still deal with Luann and Cheryl. Just some questions. I know there's some questions about what happens to someone when they underbid, what happens when they overbid ridiculously, and then it's just a real quick sentence on that. The last one has big numbers, so I figured I'd just go through one more example. I left the numbers in. If you want to listen, fine. If you don't, you got it. Just be quiet. Sorry. Okay, so we have 3 people. This is number 11, though. My bad. What did I say was in the homework? 1 through 7, and then what? 11. So I lied. Doing your homework for you. And then we have 12 and 14 as well. Just an idea that I came up with. You don't have to like it. I think you should, though, because I was going to assign 1 through 13 all. But now I assigned less, and I'm actually doing 3. So, shoved in your face, here are the numbers. Sorry that they're sloppy. I wrote this last night at 10:30. Watch them through the wormhole. I love that show. All right, so 3 siblings, Tom, Joanne, and Betty, inherit the farm. They bought the farm. They want to keep the farm in the family rather than sell it and split the money. Here are their bids. Don't write the rest of the sentence down. I wrote the bids down for you over here. Tom bid $1,250,000. See, big numbers. I didn't want to have to rewrite them and ask you to subtract for me. It would have taken too long. Joanne, $1,300,000. And I'm going to forget all these names. Betty, $950,000. Now again, what's in these bids? Tom and Joanne probably really wanted the farm. Betty's walking in, again, I live on the other side of the USA. I don't want to have anything to do with this farm. I certainly don't want to win the bid. So I'm going to bid $950,000. And I'm fine with that. You're going to find out that this is going to cost her quite a bit, though. The steel bid process, you have to stick with your bid. That's your perceived value. There's perceptions of why you put these numbers down. And so on and so forth. She feared maybe winning the bid, and then what? All right, so who wins? Who wins? Joanne, and what does she do about it? She pays. All right, now, again, realistically, probably they put this all on paper, do all the work, and then at the end, separate the results. It's not like she has $1.3 million in her pocket and slams it on the table. Okay, boom. All right, now what does everyone get? Explain this. Divided by 3. Divided by 3 what? Their what? Their bids. So that's why I didn't want to have to bother you with, hey, can you divide this for me? And I know my writing is awfully messy. Where? No, I'm not. Comma?
There should be 4 6s.
Oh, there is. I think I erased it. And then I can move that comma. Back. Nice. No one fifth hour said anything. Too busy eating bananas and chips. It was today. 2 bags of chips, a banana. I had to send someone to the corner because they were being naughty. It's just like ridiculous. And then someone every day locks the door when they walk out. I'm so cool. All right. This is all online. I don't care. Someone cut this part of the movie out, put it on Twitter. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Anyway. So good. We were missing a 6. Okay, so the next thing is out of the compensation fund, yes, these people are all paid this money back, even the winning bidder. But we know where the money came from, the winning bidder. So you'll see what happens at the end and how this sort of equals out. And then we'll talk about who wins, and there is no answer for that. It depends on the individual. Okay, now what do? I kind of got real short with the math. There's money left over in the compensation fund. So you take that $1,300,000 and subtract these 3 values that are paid out to see what's left over. And then you divide that by 3 for equally giving this to all 3 people at the end. So they get 1/3 of their perceived value back, and then they get 1/3 of the leftover after that payout. That's what step 4 is all about. And I hope this, after the first example and then this one makes a lot more sense. It's exactly like the first one with different numbers and different objects. Okay, then hopefully you can see this here. I tried to, and I should have made this more in the middle here. Let's see if I can cowboy this. Meow. Okay, so who's T? Terrence or T? Who's T? Tom. Tom gets 1/3 of his perceived value. I got all the sixes there. Plus 1/3 of the leftover. Tom walks out of there with cold hard cash, $461,111.11, and no responsibilities. But he may be sad because he might have put an honest effort in the farm and really wanted the farm, but he lost it because he was pretty close to what. Who's Jay? Joanne. Joanne gets $433,000 out of the fund plus 1/3 of the leftover, but she's the one that made the fund, which is minus $300,000 there. So she bought the farm for for $822,000 basically. Got it? You understand what I'm saying? Because these three numbers put together means a negative amount. So actually, out of pocket, she's going to pay $822,222.23 for the farm. Now, pretend both of these first two overbid. Pretend the farm was only worth $1 million, and Joanne bid $1,300,000. Well, she paid $822,000 for $1 million farm. It's still an inheritance, it's still decent, but there may be a whole bunch of things involved. This farm may make money. There may be future earnings involved, and she may be the worker that actually wanted it to keep the business going. I mean, that's what you can't say who won. You got to know what the situation is. And Betty couldn't care less that she walks out of there with $361,000 because her perceived value was what? What did she say? $950. So she did okay based off her perceived value. She got a little bit more than I think 1/3 of $950. Yeah, I think so. $350. Yeah. So she's happy too, and she's fine. Her hands are washed of it. By the way, I think this is true. I think inheritances are all tax-free too. So they don't have to pay a dime. That's all their cash, and they just walk out of there. All right? So you can't really say who won because you don't really know what's behind the situation. So that is the homework that I'm going to see. What did we just do? 1, 2, and 11. I just thought that was a good idea last night.